what's different here is a very traditionally minded academic setting. So they've done a lot of things and really led the state in standardized test scores. And that's a beautiful thing. And I don't want to water that down because it takes really, really good educators to do that. But
the motive of a school, like for students, for teachers, for parents, there can be multiple motives like employability skills, that my child should learn how to make money just right out of school.
I think previously called soft skills, but I believe they're power skills in the workspace now. I think collaboration, team building, communication, all those things that we put behind learning content in the past are now the most important things that we have to teach our students.
What's your understanding about your AI adoption by the teachers? Do you?
It's a vast span. So we just started that partnership with Magic School this year. We have teachers that are all in and have attended trainings this summer. And again, just did the hands-on, like we've invested in a role that's called Director of Future Readiness, where her main role is to share tools with teachers and provide support to teachers on how to use AI tools in their classrooms.
So hello, welcome our fellow educators and school leaders. I'm Avinash, co-founder at TomoClub. And in our TomoClub podcast series, today we have the Superintendent of Liberty Perry School Corporation, Aaron Black. And today's topic is about career-connected learning. How do we bridge school and real-world success? It's a pretty long topic, and hence the topic is also very deep. And I think it's going to be very fantastic talking to Aaron because I read a lot of initiatives taken up at Liberty Perry. But before that, welcome to our podcast, Aaron.
Thank you so much for having me this morning.
Perfect. Aaron, if you would like, can you give us a brief introduction about your own journey to our audience?
Sure. So believe it or not, I'm in my 20th year of education. A majority of that's been spent in public education. I've had the opportunity to serve as an assistant principal, a principal, and now my 7th year as a superintendent. Formerly, I was at Randolph Eastern School Corporation, where I was blessed to be a part of a lot of innovative progress that was made in that district. And here recently, in the last year, I've been at Liberty Perry Schools, where we've picked up some of those innovations in a very different school setting. So it's just exciting just to look back at my journey and know how I kind of developed my passion for career connected learning, because I've seen how it can impact all kids at a higher level. So any chance I get to promote the conversation around career connected learning, I'm happy to do it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your service. Honestly, it's hard to believe it's been 23 years working in education. But I would like to know what got you in it in the first place.
Yeah, so I think my story is like a lot of educator stories. So I didn't grow up in a household full of educators. I'm actually the first member of my family, five children in our family, to attend college and to graduate with a degree. So education for me was not something that was super important in the household, but I had educators when I was in high school that really developed a sense of pride in myself and a sense of giving back to community was always something that I was passionate about. So had educators, again, throughout my life, but specifically in high school, that really engaged me and encouraged me to consider education as a profession. And that's what kind of created the desire. And once I got into the role and saw the impact and moving through the chain of leadership in public education, I just learned that the higher you get in the chain, there are more problems to encounter, but there's also more opportunity to impact more students. I was always in secondary education settings when I was in the classroom and as an administrator. And being in a superintendent seat, I'm able to see that view from preschool to graduation, cradle to graduation, as we say a lot. And it really allows me to impact things at a much higher level. So that's a bit of my journey, bit more about my journey, but it all goes back to an educator that just took a chance and saw something in me that I know I didn't see in myself.
No, absolutely. Those are the educators who actually motivate us. So I'm glad those educators instill the confidence in education in you. And here you are. Is that excitement or is that passion still intact, or how it has transformed over the years?
Yeah, so I think it's grown. I think for
Nice.
me, I've always struggled with the traditional school setting because it didn't fit me when I was a student. And I really wasn't able to identify that really, I would say, until the last 7 or 8 years. And then COVID amplified that because I saw students learning in different ways. And I know it's part of your passion as well. And then as generative AI has come on board and really gives us the opportunity to personalize the education experience for every kid, not just some kids. I think my passion has grown even deeper because I just see these opportunities where we can truly meet the needs of all kids. I know we've always said that's what we do in education is we um, uh, try to do our best to creatively meet the needs of unique learners. But the reality is that's really hard for a teacher to do,
Right.
to customize for 25 to 30 kids sitting in their classroom. That's asking a lot of an educator. But I think with the tools and what we've learned about this age of new learner, the opportunity is really there for us to customize how our kids learn every day.
No, absolutely. I think the dream of personalization or the vision, it has been around for a long time, but this is the first time it can actually happen without stretching the teachers too thin and expecting a lot out of them. So yeah, I totally agree. So when you said this school Liberty Press is very different, what do you mean by that? How is it different?
So what my reference there was, so I left a school in Randolph Eastern was actually my home district where I grew up, but with a very different setting. So there's high EL population, high poverty rate at Randolph Eastern, which allowed us some latitude to do some really creative things to meet the needs of that student population. And I come to Liberty Perry, which is a totally different makeup, very small EL population, a little lower free and reduced lunch population, so poverty is not as high. But what's different here is a very traditionally minded academic setting. So they've done a lot of things and really led the state in standardized test scores. And that's a beautiful thing. And I don't want to water that down because it takes really, really good educators to do that. But I like to remind our folks that we are celebrating the fact that 50% of our kids passed or excelled, right? So I think the opportunity is there for us to build off that and make sure that we're meeting the needs of the other 50% of the kids that are struggling to find their way through a test and show that academic prowess in that way and find different ways to celebrate who they are, students as well.
No, I'm glad your passion has just like increased over the years and not on the other way side. So our topic today is about career connected learning. So let's break it into parts. So what career do you think is the most sought after right now among the students in your district?
I'd say hands down, healthcare and technology. It's those are two fields that rise to the top through just about every conversation. Again, I think I can say that pretty freely because those are two, when you say healthcare and technology, those fields are so vast.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of things that fall under that umbrella, but they're certainly those are the two fields that constantly seem to rise to the top when we do career coaching opportunities with our kids or skills assessments. That those seem to be the items that our students are passionate about.
No, I'm pretty sure now your district is definitely traditional in that approach because I talk to a lot of school leaders and content creation is like on the top of the charts among the students
Yeah,
in terms of career choices. So yeah, we need more doctors and engineers. So yeah, you guys are
sure.
definitely working in that direction. And so, and let's talk about the motive of a school. Like for students, for teachers, for parents, there can be multiple motives like employability skills, that my child should learn how to make money just right out of school. Or it can be a place where they can identify a right career for themselves. Or it can be a stepping stone for a higher education. So as per your understanding, apart from these three, what are the other motives that parents usually communicate? And what's your distinct breakdown among these three or four motives among the parents?
Yeah, so uh, personally, what I've seen through conversation, not just with parents but employers as well, is um, I think it's critical to identify students' strengths, interests, and values, and teach them what I think, previously called soft skills, but I believe they're power skills in the workspace now. I think collaboration, team building, communication, all those things that we put behind learning content in the past are now the most important things that we have to teach our students. When we talk to our parents, that's what they want their kids to learn. When we talk to our employers, that is what employers need and want. They don't necessarily need an employee that can come in and know how to do the job. They need a human being that comes in willing to learn how to do the job and work with others at a high level. And I think that is the transition that you see in society, and the transition I think education is trying to catch up to.
Right. No, you definitely answered two of my other questions as well, where I think that's so true and that's so right that apart from any other skill, any other motive, if we can imbibe these interpersonal or relationship skills among the kids, they can go out and achieve anything, whether it's college or job or, you know, maybe starting their own business. So yeah, well put in. So if we connect all these 2 points, what students are seeking versus what parents are seeking, uh, how can you explain the career connected learning now? And how are you bridging the school and real world success?
Yeah, I think career connected learning in the state of Indiana, I'm super fortunate to be in a state that has identified work based learning and giving schools the space to teach kids outside the four walls of the classroom. It is not only a priority, but it's a requirement for this year's freshmen, right? So I think that's unique in the state of Indiana, and that needs to be celebrated because our leadership's innovation and the boldness to move there wasn't easy. So I want to lift that up. But the part that I think we miss in education often is how important it is to get students exposure early and often. So at Liberty Perry, what we were working on and designing is what's that pathway or that career connected experience from preschool through high school, right? So being very intentional about career exploration. I use a slide deck every time I talk to our leaders. Just we've got to stop random acts of career exploration. What that means is I'm all about taking field trips when we're in first grade, but I want it to be intentional. So when our kids are out and about at a zoo, that they get to see the food service, the janitorial, the zookeepers, like all the people that make that place so special. So they can start identifying areas that they would be passionate to be a part of. So again, identifying their skills and making sure that we're giving them opportunities from a young age to see those skills and practice, and employers, I think, are extremely important.
Hmm. No, absolutely. I think that does make a lot of sense. And when you said as early as elementary, I was reading about your school that the project Lead the Way,
Yes.
PLW, that you guys had. It's starting at elementary grades, right? So what was your thought process behind starting so early? Because usually we talk about career readiness um, from middle school or even from high school, right? What was your thought process to bring it down to elementary?
Yeah, I think again, looking at parents and look at attendance rates in our country as far as school and young school age children. Kids aren't just coming to school just because they have to
Mhm.
anymore. The school needs to be a place where they feel like they're seen, and they have a place that they want to be a part of. And part of that is giving them opportunities to show the skills that they're passionate about. And like you said, content creation is something that is probably the fastest growing occupation in the world. And our students are no different than that. They just haven't had the exposure at a young enough age. So using Project Lead the Way and using career exploration opportunities in elementary just gives us a space to celebrate those students that are trying to find their way through a school system that they don't quite see that was built for them.
Interesting. Can you explain more about this project Lead the Way strategy? What does it entail? How does it work?
Yep. So Project Lead the Way is it's a STEM experience in grades PK through 5. It actually goes preschool through 8th grade in our school district. So basically, all our students at every grade level are getting engaged in website design, coding, different aspects of research that involves technology. So anything STEM related, it kind of builds off itself as they go through the grade levels, but it just gives the students opportunities to do very intentional hands-on learning throughout their elementary ages.
Right. Absolutely. So a lot of times people confuse career connected learning with career readiness. There is and career readiness with college graduations, college admissions. So is that the success metric you guys also define, or how does it go?
Yeah, so I think that's a good thing to call out. That is a vast difference, and I think your career readiness conversations happen really much later in students' careers. So those career readiness assessments happen when students are sophomores, juniors, and seniors in high school, and career connected learning is about implementation at a young age. So that conversation is created, and that human being, that student identify who they are, what's their why, what's their purpose, is matriculating as they grow from age 5 to age 14. So when they get to that career readiness conversation, they can say, no, I'm actually, this is who I am as a person, strengths, interests, and values, right? So this is why I would be interested in this career readiness or this field as I go into the workforce or into college after high school. So I think it's all about preparation. It's just like building on English language arts and building on math. I mean, it's all stackable. And the more that we stack career learning for our kids, the more prepared they're going to be for that conversation when they're 16, 17, 18 years old.
No, I agree with you. I think out there, if you ask a lot of even college grads or like students who are right now in undergrad, they do not know a lot of how work works. If I ask them what a financial analyst is supposed to do, they may not put out even 3 pointers of what are their daily tasks. So I think the unawareness about what a career actually entails is a big mismatch. And
Yeah.
that's why asking those kids to choose a career when they don't know what that career will ask them to do is a big gap. And
Yeah.
if you guys are filling
Yeah.
it up as early as K to 5, God, I think that's something that a lot of school districts should definitely try to adopt.
Yeah, and I think it's a whole other podcast that we talk about the national student debt crisis in our country. And to me, I personally believe that goes back to kids going to college with no idea what they actually want to do. So they're doing a lot of that exploration when it's costing a lot of money. And they walk out with a degree and something that they're not even interested in because the school did not prepare them for that conversation. And again, I think that's our responsibility at K-12 education is to prepare our kids to do that next step before making that financial commitment, having a really, really good idea about who they are so they can do something that will be fulfilling for them in their life.
No, I would want my child to be in such a school, which is helping them guide this biggest question, I think, in their early age. I also was reading about how you guys have partnership with Ball State and Ivy Tech. So can you tell us more about how this collaboration actually works out for students' learning outcomes?
Yeah, I think community partnerships, I say it's the responsibility of the school to make sure that our kids leave prepared, but it's actually the greater community. But you have to have higher ed partners that give your students that are pursuing higher education opportunities that experience when they're in high school so they know what they're getting themselves into. Same thing goes with employers. I think when our kids get into schools and when our kids are taking field trips, even in elementary school, you have to have employers that are willing to open up their space and welcome those students and help the educational process. You can't expect a teacher that went to school to training to teach math to be an expert in all occupations, but what what we can expect is community partners to step up and say, hey, we'll host this seventh grade group to expose them to the opportunities that are involved in the math field and those type of things. So I think partnerships are the key to sustainability when you're talking about career connected learning, K-12.
No, absolutely. I think a lot of districts do not have that leverage around them, but it's a task. So I'm glad you guys are investing in it. Um, so honestly, sometimes when people think about a rural district, or they have certain misconceptions about how students are prepared in those districts for the 21st century careers. So what's the biggest misconception that you have seen in people around about your district?
Yeah, I think the biggest misconception is the fact that I think people do not understand the opportunity that's available even in our rural schools. We're part of a rural collaborative where it's 6 schools that have come together to offer different career opportunities to each other's schools. So, provide an example, we have students that attend a neighboring district for early childhood education because they've got a great program. So our students go down the road to be a part of that program. There's a nursing program at another school that our kids have access to. So I think if we just pigeonhole ourselves into just being a singular district, I can see why people may think that the opportunities don't exist. But when you really, really open it up and look at the opportunities that exist around us, I think it's far greater than what rural schools are given credit for.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a good point. Now, definitely, we cannot talk about uh, future careers or connected learning without talking about AI. So, because we are not just preparing our students for jobs, but we're preparing them for jobs which do not even exist yet. So, how are you thinking about those angles where the students are confronted with so many different type of expectations? How do you guys are measuring
Yeah.
that or working around that?
Yeah, it's almost like you've seen my keynote before. So one of the things I do in my keynote is I share a picture of my daughter who's she's 8. She's in 3rd grade, and I share with folks she's going to graduate in 2035. But the reality is the job that she takes as a career will probably happen somewhere between 2040 and 2045. And I'm foolish to believe that I know what that job is going to be because the world is changing so vastly and because AI has been so disruptive. So I believe that's why these power skills are so important. Trying to teach kids the knowledge for the job that they're going to have is not effective anymore because things are being disrupted at such a high rate. When you think what's happened the last 25 years without AI, the world has changed vastly and the job market has changed. And the students that graduated that we were thinking about kindergartners when they were graduating in 2018, not sure that they had the skills for the job market that they entered. So I think, yeah, I've got a daughter that's going to enter a workforce that I don't know or understand. But what I do know that has passed the test of time is teaching our kids problem solving, communication, teamwork, adaptability, leadership, community, work ethic, all those soft skills that we identified in the 1960s are
Right.
now the power skills that our kids have to have because we've got to humble ourselves and realize we don't know what their future job looks like.
Right. No, I agree with that. But how about like fields like AI assisted robotics or AI assisted design tools or AI in agriculture? Have you guys holding sessions or discussing about that in the classrooms?
Yeah, so I went to conference out in San Diego 3 years ago when AI was kind of exposed for the first time, right? And you talk about where it's went since 2023 to now or 2022 to now.
Yeah.
It's moving at a pace that I'm not sure that anybody's necessarily keeping up with, but I do know it's a product of our conversations. We're making a lot of investment in AI tools to help expedite and personalize the opportunities that our kids have. But I think we're barely scratching the surface in education of understanding how AI is impacting that job market, even currently. Like, I don't know that as educators we have a full understanding like our friends in ed tech do, of how quickly it is transforming the background of the job market.
Right. No, I agree with you. And that's why one of my strong belief working in education technology is do not ask any teacher or student to stick to any AI product right now. Because if you do, the space itself is evolving so fast that maybe the product is not able to keep up. So it's more important right now to develop that adaptability and flexibility to try out different things and know what's working out best for you. So having that open mind, because it's an inertia, I get comfortable with something and then I have to uproot myself and put myself into another unknown environment is not easy. But if I don't keep on revamping my tools and keep on changing that, I might feel obsolete within the span of 3 months.
Yep, and I'd kind of kick a question back to you. What with educators, what experiences or what are you encouraging? In my mind, I think just getting teachers comfortable and building that culture of change, like understanding that what we're doing today could very easily change tomorrow for the better. But what advice are you seeing working with schools across the country that are trying to navigate the changes, because change is hard. And
Yeah.
education has been done one way for a really long time. So to know that what we're doing today can change tomorrow, it's hard for a lot of folks.
No, absolutely. So what I would recommend, it's something that we have been doing with many districts is first and foremost, we do a AI readiness survey. So we want to know where the teachers are because every district and every school has a different acceptance rate, different concerns, um, different focus areas. Like some school that I work with over there, 90% are already AI optimist. So if you are working with them, they have a very different ideology while working with somebody who are more on the fence about it. So I think AI
Right.
readiness survey becomes the first and foremost thing to do, and it should be done every quarter to know where your teachers are. Secondly, is any kind of training, any kind of learning has to be hands-on. So it literally means sitting down together and build something, using tools where there can be live projects. Um, Third aspect is that we also do a lot of times is talking about like student concerns. So like academic integrity or lack of critical thinking because of AI outputs, or how do you analyze biases in AI? So you talk about that. So that really makes teachers comfortable that I'm not the only one who's, you know, being concerned, but everyone is. And
Sure.
lastly, that I have seen is having a very small community where there is no spamming, but once a week summary of what's new in education and AI, which it's easily digestible, so it doesn't feel
Right.
overwhelming. Easy to try short videos, like 30 seconds, 1 minute video, which intrigue their interest. I think everything that you do is about piquing the interest in the educators so that they feel comfortable to try out things, uh, rather than giving a load of new task or new PD. I think it's about how do you ignite that uh, curiosity in their minds, and with a clear outcome that if you do this, it can do this for you. And I think once anyone has a clarity of why, the answer of why, I think the how and what becomes much more easier to do.
Sure. Yeah. Very good. Very good explanation.
Yeah. So, what's your understanding about your AI adoption by the teachers? Do you see it's there? Because I read, I guess you guys are using Magic School, right?
Correct. Yep.
So
Yeah.
how?
So it's a vast span. So we just started that partnership with Magic School this year. Um, we have teachers that are all in and have attended trainings this summer, and again, just did the hands-on. Like we've invested in a role that's called Director of Future Readiness, where her main role is to share tools with teachers and provide support to teachers on how to use AI tools in their classrooms. So, again, you see teachers that we have a gentleman that's been teaching in this district for 40 years. So his experience is far different than a teacher that is 22 and just started for us. So their understanding and their ability to manipulate technology is a huge span as far as their comfort level goes. So we are navigating that by, again, personalizing their experience as well. And for our district, that was making a financial commitment to a position that is what they do. Our director for Future Readiness is a resource for our students and our staff to have the tools and really work on the skills to prepare them for the jobs that we know don't exist.
No, yeah, please keep me posted. I'll definitely would love to know how the adoption and how the application part is going on. What also I would love to know how are students right now, like they are using it, we all know. So how are educators navigating that? Are they confronted with situations where where they're not feeling comfortable, or they're not feeling that they can control, or the learning outcome is not able to track? What are those concerns at the educator level?
Yeah, I think the biggest concern that I hear amongst educators in our buildings and other school district is, are kids actually learning, or are they just getting outputs that provide answers, right? So are we teaching kids the learning process using AI, right? I think AI can be a great tool to teach the process of learning, but we're fighting a bit of a immediate outcomes culture where why would a student ask to learn how to type a paper when someone or something can create that document for them with little or no effort with just some prompts? So I think for us, it's creating that culture within our students to learn how to use AI at a higher level than just providing answers, but also getting our students to understand that we're not trying to be the czars of education, and we aren't the gatekeepers of all knowledge. It's just a matter of making sure that our students are developing those skills to create the best outcomes when it comes to providing answers, so to speak.
No, absolutely. I always ask this question. So, what would be that problem that you want to solve? Like you want AI to solve for right now? What's your biggest problem that you want AI to solve for you?
I think the biggest problem that I want, so I'll be honest with you, I share with a lot of people, my dream school is a school that never has a bell, right? So most high schools in the country are operating this, and bells are a product of the industrial age, right? With it, and I desired AI to solve the problem of personalizing the education for every high school student, so
Yeah.
that they can learn at their own speed and at their own pace, and that we're comfortable with that. And what happens there is you don't need bells because kids are learning at a rate that's comfortable with them, and they're moving around at a rate that's comfortable with them, and protecting our teachers in the same process. Like I want to save their time because they have families and lives outside of the school, and using the AI tools to create that space for them is extremely important for me as well.
Right. No, I agree with you. I love that. Uh, and I'm so happy that as an individual, as a school leader, if you have these thought clarity, it will definitely, percolate throughout the district. And I am pretty confident that the students who are right now at your school, they're definitely much more career ready, or I would say, than anyone. So thank you so much for giving us time today. And is there anything specific that we didn't talk about that you want to share?
No, I just I appreciate the work that you're doing to elevate the profession of education, and more importantly to elevate our students and identifying their needs, and creating a good cross section between ed tech and education. So I appreciate your work, and I appreciate you taking time to talk to me this morning.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Aaron, for your time. It was nice talking to you.
Thank you for watching. Join our journey at TomoClub